MSSP Alert Live 2025. What a great event. What a great event. We were just outside of DC in Maryland at the MGM. Beautiful casino, restaurants. The time I've ever been to an MSSP Alert event conference. It was great. The staff, unbelievably accommodating, friendly, and just want to promote technology, the platform, the camaraderie, the networking. The vendors were great. They gave me a speaking session. I had a book signing. It was just a tremendous event. I had 10 great interviews. Raphael Matone, of course, really liked talking to Raphael. He was our first one inside the next era of MSP security and growth. Great conversation, great meeting Raphael. Next was Wilfredo Santiago. First time meeting Will. He's at one of my favorite companies, Blackpoint Cyber, and first time getting to know Will. Great insight on the military. The name of the episode is Cracking Codes and Catching Threats, a Cyber Warrior's Journey. Really interesting background. I look forward to getting to know him more and hanging out with him socially. Sharon Florentine from Cyber Risk Alliance. Really great conversation. She has an editing background. We talk about editing, AI, and the changing language of business. Really great insight from Sharon, I think, for her time. And then there was two women that I interviewed from a Woman in Cyber. It's an organization, incredible organization that obviously by the name helps women get into cybersecurity. The first one was Brianna Steele, Opening Doors, the Future of Women in Cybersecurity. Great conversation with Brianna. The next one was Chichi Uba, Curiosity, Courage, and Cyber, a journey of constant learning. Great conversations with those two women from that great organization. Valerie Cofield, Val, great discussion with Val, inside critical infrastructure and the future of cyber warfare. What an impressive background, FBI and the government, being child of immigrants. Just a great conversation with Val. Really enjoyed it. Tony Petricola, first one I did on Wednesday. Great conversation with Tony. I feel like we're related. He started by our last names. He was stomping on grapes as a youngster with his Italian parents. And of course, he likes wine, but right into cyber and what he does there. Inside critical infrastructure and the future of cyber warfare. Great conversation with Tony. Caroline Wong. Oh, I really enjoyed talking to Caroline. Jiu-Jitsu, AI, and cyber. Surprisingly human conversation. Great insight. Just really open with Caroline. A great event this was, and I look forward to doing more work with them in the future and having more great conversations. Thanks for watching and listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word, discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission? How do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Great having you today.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. How'd you get into Pokémon?
I was raised in Washington State. When Pokemon came in the 90s, there was stores called Wizards of the Coast that were opened up all throughout Washington State.
Yes.
And my father would take me through them, and I was a big fan of all the art. Eventually, I've grown up. I have a 7-year-old now,
yes.
Same age. Pokemon has made its resurgence.
Yes.
And so I'm kind of reliving my 7-year-old days through my son. And now I have a little bit more, extra money and cash to buy some cards.
Sure.
So watching him open up those cards has been interesting. But that's how I got into Pokemon. Is really through my son.
In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com. your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza Dash MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza Dash platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow.
Those Wizards of the Coast, there were also Dungeons and Dragons?
They were. Magic the Gathering was a big game there. But at the time, Magic the Gathering, Pokémon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Were the top trading card games.
Wow.
Right?
We didn't have them I'm from the Northeast. We didn't have them, but I always heard about those stores.
They're great. You could go into any store and, I would pull. I regret not keeping any of my Pokemon cards. I've now learned as an adult there's a little bit of value to them. A lot of those first edition cards are going for a couple grand. And
amazing.
I gave away all my Pokemon cards when I was 10 years old.
Did you really?
Good luck to everyone who has those cards.
And to whoever you gave them to, do they still have them?
I don't know. I've lost communication with a lot of those folks. My father was in the Army, so they moved to different Army bases, and I'm sure they still have them. And two of them were big collectors, so I'm sure they put them in cases. They took better care than I did. And they probably made a bunch of money off of them.
And speaking of which, you went into the military.
I did.
You follow your father?
I did. Yeah, my father did 24 years in the Army.
Wow.
I did 4 years active duty in the Navy and then 4 years in the reserves.
Wow.
So I took a little bit of a different route. However, I did go to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and do Army training, even though I was in the Navy. So I'm a little bit more of a sand sailor than a regular sailor. I was never on a ship.
Term.
I have a coin. It says sand sailor on it.
Wow.
Because I was on a ship for a maximum of like 2 days. Never did ship time.
You were in the Navy for 4 years and it was only 2 days on the ship.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Is that typical?
It's not. However, my job was a naval intelligence cryptologic specialist, right? And so I was put into different environments that I didn't really know about at the time, being 18 years old. Turns out, though, the government has a bunch of different secret sites all throughout the world and throughout the United States where secret squirrels like myself are embedded with the military.
Secret squirrels.
And so, I got the opportunity to learn all about that lifestyle. And I decided, when I first joined, I really wanted to be on a ship. And I said, if I don't get on a ship, what's this all about? About 8 months in, I said, I'm actually glad that I wasn't on a ship.
Wow.
Because I got to do some really, really cool things on the ground with some other sports, special forces that are out there that I wouldn't have been able to do on a ship.
Tell me more about that. Well, I don't know what you can discuss. So they put you in a honeypot situation where they put you. How does that work?
So, you initially go through training at naval boot camp, right? And then they separate everyone after you graduate boot camp, and everyone goes to the respective A schools. That's your technician school. I went to Corey Station in Pensacola. It's known as Corey High for those who've been there. It's an extension of high school. It's a bunch of 19 and 18-year-olds there, right? But that's where they teach cryptology in the Navy. And so you go there, you learn your trade craft. My initial job was signals intelligence, so I was a signals analyst. My job was to look at a spectrum analyzer and analyze radio frequencies.
Wow.
Understand what was being taught to me on that spectrum analyzer. Took that training, went to my first duty station, which is in West by God, Virginia. I was stationed at a field site in Sugar Grove, West Virginia, which I can say now because it's declassified. It's on the internet.
Good.
And they closed down. So Sugar Grove, West Virginia was my first duty station. Middle of nowhere, radio-free quiet zone. But all that is, working with radio frequencies, antennas, understanding what's being passed throughout the airwaves.
Wow.
How do you collect it? How do you break those signals? Things of that sort, right? And so I took a different approach when I got to Sugar Grove and focused more on network analysis. So this is more of, now that we understand what's on the signal and what's being carried on that, how do we actually analyze the communications that are being put on there, right? And so I did a lot of work looking at different networks, topologies, and how traffic goes from one computer to the next, and understanding where encryption is and where encryption isn't, and what can we understand about these networks to gain more intelligence insights on government priorities.
Radio frequencies, Will. So there's a movie just released about the person that the Allies, would be England, hired or brought on to decrypt the Germans, the Nazi.
The Enigma,
code.
yeah.
The Enigma, that's it exactly. And it was a mathematician.
Yes.
Who did it.
At Bletchley Park, yes.
Oh, what do you know
My
about
cryptology history is a little fuzzy at this point.
Is that right?
We had to learn a lot of these cryptology things because they're very significant in the realm of cryptology and why they're important, right? You can think back of a number of situations that were really but you had the Enigma, right? Us breaking the codes to be able to understand what the Germans were doing in a wartime setting was huge. And
wow.
The way, and I'm actually going to talk about that at 11:30, the way that we did that was not just looking at, how do you break the code? It was actually looking at them and saying, let's understand them as people and their comfort and embed ourselves in those processes. There's a saying, if you want to be a hacker, you have to think like a hacker.
Wow.
Right? And so there's a lot of that focus on, okay, let's look at it from that angle so we can figure out how we can, gain access into these sensitive covert communications. But even with the Navajo code talkers, when you think about that in World War II, where we had individuals, Native Americans, Navajo tribes, that were working on behalf of the U.S. government, communicating, and the Japanese couldn't break those communications because they didn't understand the Navajo language. So those are ways that cryptology has made its way throughout history and time. And I mean, we've gotten to now where cybersecurity is relevant. We have encryption, we have communications and all these things. But you think back in the days where we had, literal people on phones talking just a different language, and that was the encryption that they were using, right? And so we've evolved in the last 70, 80 years exponentially.
And go back to that Enigma for a moment. They actually understood where they were going to attack, and they didn't want to defend against it because they didn't want them to know that they had broke the code.
Correct. Some false flag operations,
false
right?
flag. Absolutely amazing. How did you get into this? How did you know you wanted to get into cryptology?
I didn't know that I wanted to do it, to be honest.
Really?
I, like many high schoolers, reached a point in my career in high school, was like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go to college? I got accepted to a bunch of different universities in Florida. That's where I'm from. So, that was my plan. Once I received the first bill, it's like, I don't think this plan is going to work out, right? And at the time, I really wanted to go to school in Miami at Florida International University. I remember my transcript. I actually saw it 2 weeks ago. I wanted to go into international business.
Wow.
I wanted to go travel the world and be a businessman. That's what I wanted to go do. After seeing that bill, I said, maybe I don't do that. I don't want school debt. What are my alternatives, right? And so I said, I'm going to take the summer off and kind of figure things out. I was working at a supermarket called Publix. And my story arc is at Publix.
I know it well.
A lady came in at 7 o'clock in the morning. I had a really bad night, and she asked me for double paper. And that's the most complicated thing when you're a bagger, is putting another paper bag in another one.
Yes.
And I said to myself, is this really what you want to be doing for the rest of your life? And nothing against my friends that are in supermarket business,
right?
But that's not what I wanted to do. I knew that I had a little bit more drive to myself than sitting there and just bagging someone's groceries. So I decided, I'm going to go talk to the recruiters. I took the ASVAB when I was in 11th grade. My scores are still active. I think I scored pretty well. So let me go talk to some folks. My father was in the Army, so I didn't even go talk to those guys.
Wow.
I went to the Marine Corps first. It was great, but they were a little bit too motivated for me as an 18-year-old kid. I went to the Air Force. They told me, we called you. Your mom told us you weren't interested. So they moved on from me. And then I ended up going to the Navy office, and I saw everyone in the Navy office with tattoos and very cool-looking cars out front. And, that's the recruiting model for the military. It was like, I'm going to go get me a really cool car and some tattoos and go see the world. So I joined the Navy. I remember going to the military entrance processing station, MEPS, and they told me, you qualified for a lot of jobs. You scored really high on your test. We don't have much available. We have this personnel specialist job, this YN job, which is a yeoman in the Navy, especially in admin, or you can be a nuke. And I was like, I don't like any of those options. So basically they said, well, there's one more job. We don't know what it is, but you can get stationed in Rota, Spain. And that was where I was sold.
Wow.
I didn't care about the job. I heard Rota, Spain, and I was like, I'm sold.
Wow.
So I joined up, signed up, went to boot camp, went to Corey Station, learned, hey, you're going to be supporting 3-letter agencies as a military member. All the things that you've heard, CIA, NSA, FBI, you'll have an opportunity to work for those agencies and do different missions.
Wow.
And that was my first foray into cryptology and understanding, wow, this is how this all works. So from time to time, spoiler alert, I didn't get stationed in Spain.
You didn't?
I did not get stationed in Spain. It's funny. They base all of your duty stations based off of your rank in your class.
I say.
So I really busted my tail. I got 4th place out of 16 people in the class. I thought I did pretty good. So I filled out my dream sheet, which is something they give to every single sailor. It's your top 3 choices on where you want to go. And you can either pick the school, the location, or the command that you want to go to. And so it's just a dream sheet. I put Hawaii, Spain, and I think Japan 3rd. And I remember the day that they called out. It's a big ceremony, and they tell you where you're going. And they called my name, said Santiago, and I go, yeah. And they go, hope you can learn how to play the banjo. And I said, Texas? And they said, West Virginia. And that was my very first duty station. Wow. But honestly, in retrospect, it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Really?
Small base, got to learn a lot of people, got to be hands-on with my job, got to volunteer. I learned early on in my career, volunteer to go do things, and that's how you get out of your comfort zone. So I did a few deployments in there, ended up working with some special forces operations guys, doing things where, putting warheads on foreheads. My whole mission set changed.
Were you really?
And it really opened up my aperture for knowledge. So I really had a lot of different things that I did there.
What if discipline wasn't about punishment, but about unlocking your best self? I spent 2.5 years writing Discipline for Greatness because discipline changed my life. And I know it can change yours too. This isn't theory. Inside, you'll find real, practical steps you can use immediately to focus better, build stronger habits, reduce stress, accomplish your goals, and bring more balance to your life. Whether you're trying to get healthier, improve your career, or simply feel more control, this book gives you the framework. Start today. Grab your copy of Discipline for Greatness at joeypinz.com/book. Thank you.
So the move over to cybersecurity was an easy one.
I would say it was an easy one because I had a lot of multidisciplined education that I had in my career in the Navy.
I see.
It wasn't directly related to cybersecurity, but cybersecurity is just a bunch of culmination of the basics.
Right.
Networking, programming, operating system fundamentals. And thankfully I had learned all that being a signals analyst, being a network analyst, deploying with special operations forces and seeing how they did things, giving them insights on stuff, right? And so that mission that I did was more of a counterterrorism mission, stopping bad guys from doing bad things. However, that directly was related to my cybersecurity mission, which I started doing in 2015 after I came back from deployment.
Wow.
And so I learned, all the stuff that I was doing on helping special operations forces catch bad guys is actually kind of what threat actors are doing on this space. So we always just say this, we did good things or we did bad things for the good people, right, on our side.
Interesting.
But the reality is, I just learned a lot of different skill sets that apply directly to cybersecurity. And I was able to translate that directly. And then I worked at the National Security Agency as a civilian. In 2016, I went and worked at a development program that's at the National Security Agency. I actually recommend anybody who doesn't really have an understanding of what they want to do in cyber to look at those development programs.
Really?
It's a 3-year cohort. It's public on the internet. You can apply for it, but you're going to go through a bunch of different training, a bunch of different offices. And the cool thing about it is I was an intern. I was a full-time employee, but I wasn't attached to any specific office. So I could say, hey, I want to go work for you for 4 months. I want to go work for you for 3 months. And I'd go try a bunch of different things and say, I really like that. I don't like that. It's not what I like to do. And I got to touch everything from offensive security to defensive stuff, malware analysis, cryptology, cryptanalysis, right? Very high level stuff. And that really, really drove my knowledge in cybersecurity where I said, you know what, I'm going to change my focus from being an intelligence analyst, because originally I was in the intelligence analysis development program, to the cyber development program. And I switched it completely based off of those experiences.
What is it about cybersecurity that excites you? Well,
it's like a video game.
Is it?
Every single day there's something new, there's a new challenge, right? And to say that it's a video game doesn't really give us its justice, because it's a stressful job.
It is,
that, some people, they do get impacted by these. We have customers that if they're impacted, they're not going to open up the next day. They have all their revenue, all their money put into this company, and there's a cyber threat actor out there that's going to cause them havoc. It does cause issues. So I don't want to make light of the issue. However, that being said, to me, a video game is one of those things where you can lose yourself and really go into those worlds and figure out what's happening in these worlds, go do challenges, solve those challenges, and they can be difficult. Cyber is very much that day. Every single day, there's something new that needs to be solved.
Wow.
Some new threat, some new threat actor, new technologies that are being introduced that now we have to protect. And so it's this constant evolution of really getting to a state of enjoying the fact that we have to trust the process and we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable with learning new things.
Wow.
And that's one of the things that really drove me is I love learning new things. I'm the type of person that knows a bunch of random Google facts and useless facts about different things, but I'm very curious about the world that we live in. And I think that cybersecurity is one of those disciplines that regardless if you're on the technical side, the compliance side, even if you're on the marketing side, if you're in the cyber realm, you get to learn about things that I feel like 99% of the world doesn't even care about. They don't even focus on, right? And to me, it's kind of those interesting things where we have individuals that can facilitate. Like, let's take a step back and not getting into classified information in here, but let's think about how cyber was used to, for example, dismantle Iranian's nuclear program.
Right.
Those are instruments that can be used and leverage for geopolitics. And so when I think about that, I'm thinking to myself, wow, we're actually in an industry that it's not just about protecting, the assets that we have. Yes, that is an aspect of it, but you have motivated threat actors out there that are looking to seek havoc using a computer.
Right.
And to me, that's very cool to think that someone has that much power and capability just using their mind in a computer.
Yeah, the days of a van pulling up and robbing. It happens, but it's more of these threat actors.
I'm sure the Russian mob is, they got some hackers on their payroll.
Yeah. Wow. I was talking to somebody from Eastern Europe at another firm, a cybersecurity firm, and he was just kind of explaining the mentality of a lot of these bad actors, and that there's a lot of resentment in the West because I'm smarter than them, but they get to work at these big companies, make a lot of money, and so they justify it. And I just never heard that angle before.
I think cyber is not in its own little vacuum, right? When we look at the world in general, you see this in a bunch of different industries, right? Where people will look and say, well, if I'm not included in the club, I'm going to make my own club, right? And so you have this angle where attribution is really, really hard. And so there's this sense of if I'm good enough, then they won't ever catch me. And you have motivated actors out there that have, put themselves in a position where they are ignored by their respective countries, and they know that they're ignored.
Wow.
So as long as you're not targeting us, you target whoever you want to, and it benefits them, right? So you have this whole aspect of state-sponsored actors. I always talk about cyber criminals being state-ignored actors. The Russian government knows about these cyber criminals, the Conti groups, and all these. They'd be remiss not to. They're a very smart government that has an intelligence program just as good as any other nation that's out there. So the fact is, it works in their favor. So when it works in your favor, you ignore the capabilities, and that's why there's no secret that some ransomware or malware is specifically meant to avoid, hey, if this machine is a Russian language, don't encrypt it, because they don't want to deal with the ramifications of their own government. When they know they can just hide in Russia. And what is the United States going to do? Go send the State Department to Russia? And go it's not going to happen, right? And so they have a little bit of this idea that I'll never be caught. So when you put those factors together, I'm not a part of the club, I won't get caught, and I have this huge financial incentive.
Wow.
Well, the writing's on the wall. Yes. Someone's likely going to exploit this.
Wow. And how is AI affecting cybersecurity?
I think what AI is really helping is on two sort of facets, right? Now, you've always had the AI, machine learning, model development that has really sort of been happening for a lot of time. But with generative AI, what we saw that changed in the shift is AI became more accessible to the layman, right? And so now I'm seeing individuals use AI to scale their businesses, to get insights from the data that they collect already, and they're using AI overlays to understand what is it that we actually have to focus on? Now, AI hallucinates. It does require some practitioner's, mentality to make sure you're validating what it is. However, if I am trying to scale my business and have a bunch of force multipliers, these AI agents, these agentic AI solutions that are out there have made it so where I can hire someone that doesn't necessarily have to be an expert in that one specific field, but knows enough to be dangerous.
Wow.
And I can give them the data insights that they need. And again, they can validate what's happening. It just makes that barrier to entry on certain things that much easier. Now, I'm seeing sort of two sides of the conversation, right? Anthropic, which is a big AI company, recently released a blog on how threat actors are using AI to facilitate autonomous hacking operations, right? I think that's an angle that we're going to have to look at into the future is how are AI models, how are these different solutions out there enabling threat actors to jailbreak their solutions, to do nefarious activities on their behalf? But then the other side of it is, I don't believe that we've reached the pinnacle point of AI where it's the Terminator. AI is going to destroy everything, and everything's going to be automatically ransomware. We still have, steps that need to be taken with human intuition that right now the AI is not really capturing.
Interesting.
Right, and so the good thing about it is when you marry the human with the AI, then you do get that perfect marriage, right? And so it's about whether or not we're seeing it used for good or for bad. I'm seeing a lot of really good use cases on the defense side, anomaly detection, alert reduction, helping scale businesses. But I think what I'm seeing the most in the AI space right now is, hey, help me upskill or up-level my associates that I have without having to add additional headcount. If I want to put a new API programming language out there, or I want to have a new API connection, I can use AI to give me the exact steps for that. And then, by the way, that's now my table of contents for my operation procedures, my SOPs that I can just build and give to someone else, right?
It's exciting.
It is. I really think it is.
And quantum is right over there, right? It's
quantum computing is right up the street.
It's right up the street. It's next. How's it going to help? How's it going to hurt?
It's going to facilitate computing.
It really is, isn't it?
And really what I think is there's an issue that we're seeing on the AI side is we don't have enough compute. There's not enough data centers.
Right.
We don't have enough technology, right? And so quantum computing is going to really scale that computing level of effort. And I don't want to act like I'm a quantum computing expert by any means, but I think we're seeing a lot of this with, why did all these AI companies, increase the value of NVIDIA stock over time? They needed the GPUs to be able to do their workloads. And so with quantum computing coming in, you're going to start seeing this emergence of we don't have enough compute to, hey, we can actually power our data centers with these quantum computers that have massive abilities to run petabytes of data in the same format at a 50% reduction of the power that we're doing right now, right?
Wow. It's exciting. It
really is. It's an exciting time, I think, in technology all across the board.
Well, we're here in outside of DC at the big MSSP Alert Live event. Of course, you're here with Blackpoint. What are some of your goals this week?
Networking, 100%. Networking is important in this industry. We've got to make sure that we're all better aligned. Being here with partners is very important to me. It's always important. Running a SOC, it's easy to hide behind the pane of glass and stay over there doing my job, right? The reality is we're in the trust selling business, right? And so our customers need to see us at the forefront and really understand, hey, who are the people behind the curtains that are actually providing the service? Who's doing the job, right? So we tried at Blackpoint to bring our executive team out, bring our analyst team out, have them meet with our customers, understand their use cases. And really what I like to do is get direct feedback from the masses. Like, what are the problems you're looking to solve? And how can I help facilitate those solutions back at Blackpoint? And so it's kind of one of those things that, while I'm more, introverted than most, I appreciate being out amongst my peers because it brings that joy of, hey, they're really trusting me to do something. And they're coming to me and say, Will, if you build this, I'll buy it, right? And so it's about, hey, that's direct feedback I can take back to my company and really give them insights.
When partners, MSPs, are looking to partner with a cybersecurity firm, what questions should they be asking?
I think the number one thing is, does the solution solve the problem that I'm looking for? There's a lot of products that are out there that are shiny glass, really cool. They look pretty, but they don't really solve a problem. Right. And so you're understanding what your problem set is, and does that tool or service, does that solve a problem for me? Once you figured out yes or no, who's actually providing the service behind it? Are they experts in their domain? Do they come from the industry? Do they have the insights on what it is that we need to know about? Or is it just someone who has a lot of money who knows that they can make some money in there and then sell services, right? And, we see this in the industry when you look at the maps, and I'll share this at my 11:30. I have a map. It's got over 400 different vendors on there that all say they do the same exact thing. It's a convoluted space. So how do you actually understand who's going to be the partner? The second part of that is the partnering behind that, right? We always have this mantra at Blackpoint that we're partner first, right? We're going to lead. We're going to listen to our partners, and we're going to lead with what our partners are selling. Because ultimately, we're selling to them, and we're channel-based. So we're selling to MSP partners who are selling to an end customer. They've developed that relationship with that end customer over 30, 40 years sometimes. So the last thing that I want to do is mess up a relationship between them and their end customer because we didn't listen to them about the problem they're dealing with, right? And so, again, that partnership is huge. Partnership building, the trust building is really important.
It sure is.
And we do have a lot of entities that are in here that, you can't talk to a human. I've never understood the whole SOC component where you can't call the SOC analyst who did the analysis for your incident, right? With Blackpoint, you can call 24/7 a SOC analyst and say, hey, I just had this incident happen. Could you tell me about it? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Someone's going to answer. And so for me, it's about understanding, yes, everyone may have a service. They all have the same acronyms. But what actually is the breakdown of that service and who are the people behind it that are providing that service? And then you start to see a different narrative in that story. And I've had a lot of conversations with my customers that go, Will, when I first heard that I can call the SOC, we thought it was the craziest thing ever because all my other services required you to go into the portal and request a callback. Then you maybe get a callback in 2 hours. Whereas like you guys, I was dealing with an incident, stressed out. I called you and it was immediate in 30 seconds and I was talking to someone. The accessibility factor is a huge component, in my opinion, on cybersecurity products and services that are out there.
Well, has there been anything in the last month or so you changed your mind on?
Anything in the last month. So I do think a mark of someone that has, really good intelligence is someone that's able to change their opinion.
Yes.
And I say this a lot. I have no ego. I think one area that I've been, sort of like, that'll never work, this will work, is on it's on the AI side, but it's more on the content creation side of things. Whereas, when I was looking at how I used to build AI, deepfakes back in the day, it was very noticeable.
Really?
My opinion has changed as of recent.
Interesting.
That it's a lot more difficult to detect, and it presents this new issue where how is this going to be used in settings where you can put someone in a vulnerable position where they really weren't in that position, but it doesn't matter. The narrative is now there. And so you can see a bunch of different instances and, politics and different things where people are saying that wasn't true. That's AI. And you don't know what to believe anymore. Right. And I used to think that I'd never get duped by an AI video. And I'm on Instagram and I'm getting duped every day now.
It's tough.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's these things that I think I went from I'll never get duped by AI deepfakes to now, man, some of this is really good, and I've been duped.
Yes.
So I think that's one area that I've realized, okay, tip my hat, I understood that the AI, deepfakes from 2022 are no longer the same from 20. We've improved tremendously, and it's going to get better.
Yeah, it definitely going to get better. It's every video you watch now. It's like, wait,
is it true or not?
There's always a doubt.
I recently went to my son's school. Every year I do the Great American Teach-In, and I try to teach the kids. He's in first grade now, but I've been doing this since he was in VPK. So in kindergarten, I did a talk on cybersecurity and just basics on, making sure your parents aren't giving out their passwords and protecting their phone and don't leave their phones around unlocked and all these things like that, just basic things. So this year I decided to discuss AI. And I thought the topic was a little bit too high level for the first graders. So what I did is I built an AI storybook. And what this allows you to do is provide a prompt, and it will create a storybook for whatever topic that you decide. But what I wanted them to see is the instant generation of content using AI. And I said to them, okay, I'm going to show you a video, and I'm going to show you a real video. They're going to look very similar, but I want you to tell me which one is AI and which one isn't.
Wow.
And one of the things I noticed is we have to teach critical thinking in schools because critically thinking things is how we identify. Does that logically make sense that a whale is on the top of a mountain going through a volcano? Well, no, it doesn't, right? But these are the things that, even my parents, they've seen. I saw this video where this pig was, being thrown from a balloon. And I'm like, that's AI, right? And so they don't really realize that. And so I'm trying to bring this level of critical thinking to the schools. And it's important that I bring this up because now my son, maybe the negative things happen. Now everything he sees, he's like, that's AI.
That's right.
Right? It's beyond my scope of knowledge. That's AI. So now we have this other issue that we're going to have to deal with, right?
Where trust is going to be,
Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypins.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it.
Well, I started my MSP back in the 90s, was working way too hard, not paying attention to myself, not exercising, and in front of the doctor, she tells me I'm at 340 pounds. So I gained all this terrible weight. She says to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My daughter was just born, scared the life out of me. Next 6-7 months, lost about 130 pounds, kept it off. You can't look at these things like finishing lines, right? You've got lifelong changes. So when I tell people this, they always say, what's your secret? What'd you do? And I say, there's no secret. Discipline. Focus, routine, willpower. Absolutely. How does discipline play a role in your life?
Discipline's important. And I think I've gone through my same share of, medical doctors telling me, hey, if you don't change this, then you're going to have an issue, right? In cyber, that's one of the issues. You sit sedentary for 8 hours, 9 hours at a time. Junk food's there at your home. It's very easy to lose control, right? So you have to have a level of discipline to your routine to really focus on making sure that you're healthy, you're mentally stable. And to me, there's this whole concept. I don't know if you've heard of Jocko Willink, but he has this, mindset: discipline equals freedom, right? And so the things that you don't want to do, those are the things you have to do. You have to be disciplined enough to get them through. Yeah, we don't want to cut the grass. But what happens when you don't cut the grass? And the grass goes crazy and the HOA sends you a letter saying your grass is too long, we're going to fine you, right? And so now you're paying a $300 fine, where if you just had that one discipline to take 30 minutes to go cut the grass, you wouldn't be having that issue. And so it starts with me with really understanding there's going to be things you don't want to do. Doesn't matter. You got to get it done, right? You got to work on things, and you're telling yourself, I really don't feel like doing this. Doesn't matter. You got to get up. My father, an infantryman, he tells me all the time, working out, hardest thing to be doing is getting your foot out the door.
That's true.
Get the foot out the door. That's the discipline part, right? Be disciplined enough to just put the foot out the door. Don't worry about all the other things that come for it. Like you said, don't try to plan every little nitnoid detail of your life, which is, I think a lot of people do that. And I did that in my early 20s of like, by 25, I'm going to have a house. By 26, I'll have this. And I realized, wait, I'm 27. I don't have a house yet. Like, what's going on? You can't plan every nitnoid detail of your life. But what you can plan is I'm going to be disciplined. So no matter what, I know whether I'm buying a house or not, if I have to go do something and I have to attend something, I'm going to be there. I signed up for something. Your word is your bond, right? And so we always talk about being, trustworthy and really having that bond with people. I think it starts with discipline, right? And if you're the type of person that just says things but never follows up on what they actually do, you gain that reputation over time. Hey, this person says a lot of things, but they don't have the discipline to actually execute, right? And so for me, discipline's a huge aspect of my daily life. There's areas that I could definitely get better on it, especially like working out and health and stuff like that. But there's routines that you have to adhere to every single day. And if you don't, it can derail your life, right? And so it's important to have those routine, disciplined things that you do every single day.
Thank you so much for your time. Well, I was really looking forward to this. Anybody watching or listening, how can they get in touch with you?
If you're looking to get in touch with me, you can definitely get in touch with me on LinkedIn. My handle on there is InfoSecFredo. But also you can email my Blackpoint email address, which is just my first initial with my last name.
Wilfred Santiago.
Yep, Wilfredo Santiago. I go by Will.
You certainly do. Will, thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Joey.
I
appreciate it.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversation.